My name is Kayla Chanel Lathan.
And I'm Lami Jalil Simmons.
And this is Blank Slate Part 2 for Pidsley Exercise Sports Psychology.
Chapter 4 makes a quick reference to Nim Chimpsky. The chimpanzee would mimic his trainer by washing dishes. But there appeared to have been a problem. What was the problem? What can we learn about people from this little lesson?
So within the study, they had found that the chimpanzees were just mimicking the woman washing the dishes. They learned that the chimpanzees weren't grasping the fact that she was actually cleaning the dishes. What we can learn from it as humans is that sometimes copying one another for something rather than learning something isn't going to be the very best outcome. The first page of chapter 5 brings us to the thesis of the entire book. His thesis of the book is in the third paragraph and starts with the sentence, "I think I have reason to believe." Please explain the rest of that paragraph.
So the rest of the paragraph is basically saying that there's a universal complex of human nature. So the thesis is that the mind is equipped with a battery of emotions, reasoning, and communications, and it shares common logics across cultures. The reason why it compares common logics across the cultures is because natural selection occurs during those cultures. So everybody who's acclimated well into that culture, like what emotions is best fit for that culture is what emotions that person will portray. So therefore, that will portray the differences between one human being and the next due to natural selection over a course of time of that human's evolution. A large source of resistance against people accepting that there is a percentage of nature that is inherent and genetic comes from the Pinker's term fear of imperfectibility and fear of nihilism. Can you please give examples and explain each?
So within Pinker's term of imperfectibility, he had found that due to social reform, there are some things within human nature that will always be unchangeable. However, some of these things are good for human nature and they also help to carry on human nature, so they are necessary for the process. This includes violence, adulteriousness, and being deceiving as well. So the fear of Ninsalam divides into two concepts, which are religion and secular. So for the religion concept is that God has set forth a certain amount of rules that we will have to obtain and follow in order to have eternity and for our spiritual travel after death. An example of this would be An example of following these set of rules would be whenever you have a sick relative and you decide to take care of them, not out of the kindness of your heart, but taking care of them because you feel as if God wants you to, or as if God will put you more closer to eternity with Him by doing so. Within the secular concept, he had found that biology is ruining the overall meaning or the overall viewpoint of how life truly is. An example of this would be telling your kid that Santa Claus is coming Christmas night, whereas biology can prove that Santa Claus is definitely not a real thing and your parents leave gifts for you every Christmas. The beginning of chapter 10 addresses why people potentially fear determinism. What is determinism? Also, why do some fear acknowledging the existence of a biological connection to human nature due to determinism? Please give examples.
Determinism is the concept opposed to free will. This is basically saying that there's something external, well, in this case, internal, because it's talking about genetics, that is causing you to exert any type of action. Some fear acknowledging the existence of a biological connection to human nature is that determinism is, quote unquote, a real waste of time. One fear is that we are not in control of our own choices. And the fear is that an understanding of human nature seems to eat away the notion of responsibilities. It's as if we use genetics to take away the accountability of an individual. An example would be biology becoming the perfect alibi. So we will attribute an action to a person's genetics as if it seems as if we don't hold that individual accountable. For instance, it can be a serial killer. That serial killer could have many murderers, but then once we go and find out the genetics and see what he's predisposed to and see that they are having some type of mental illness, then we will automatically give them a slap on the wrist and not hold that individual accountable anymore, because we're using genetics and human nature to be the cause of his actions.
And this is Blank Slate Part 2.
Thanks for watching us today.